Namaste, beloveds. This is Valerie Ames, and this video will be in the frequency of Ocean 9. Observations from Ocean 9. That's just how it's coming through. Um, this is like the third try, so bear with me. This video is going to be dealing with Saturn in retrograde. And Saturn in retrograde right now, as it is coming up in my awareness, is about relationships, past relationships, the frequencies that you received from them then, the frequencies in comparison that you receive from them now, your ability to be able to observe your own growth, your own maturity, your own changes, your own ability to navigate from that retrospective look into this now moment with basically your relationship with yourself, understanding that everything else is just a reflection of that. I woke up with this and it was very deep this morning, and I'm going to try to pull again as much of it as I can because it was integrated so quickly and processed by me so quickly, and I just felt that, okay, Valerie, you've got to do a video on this. Excuse me. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to try, I didn't write this down and I probably should have, but I'm going to just go with the flow of it, how it's flowing inside of me. Lately I've been in a couple of situations that have allowed me to look deeper into my own being and to answer in a more deeper manner who I am, who I want to be, who I know myself to be. And that's based upon some interactions with male energy that has presented itself in a way that kind of threw me off balance a little bit, simply because I had not been reading the energies in those manners. And in one particular case, the gentleman told me that he was attracted to me in a relationship manner, but that particular individual was also already in a committed relationship, and both of us knowing that that wouldn't go anywhere, we were both like, no. And like I said, this is Saturn retrograde, and I'm sharing this because as a vessel, I just feel that it's my duty to do so. And even for my own reflection, when I come back to these videos, and there's some videos that I haven't looked at in a number of years and come back to and was like, wow, look at your growth, you know. So it's very powerful in many different ways for me. But getting back to this, it was being held in a certain spotlight by this individual. And this individual, like I said, this is from Ocean Nine's perspective. Observing this individual observe me and place me in a certain box, category, aspect, um, circumstances, and everything. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, because it was never disrespectful. It was never disrespectful. Um, but it just shows how we interact and interrelate with each other. And so this individual had me here. Like I said, he is in a committed relationship, and it's not an open relationship. And I'm thankful that he made that clear to me, because that gave me the ability to decide, well, Valerie, do you want to be a side piece, or to get your needs met? What are your needs? Would being a side piece meet your needs? Even on a temporary basis, would this be a good thing for you? Would this be a good fit for you? And like I said, with this being Saturn in retrograde, you reflect back on all the other relationships that you've had. And truthfully, I see that there is a pattern, that usually the guys who come into my orbit are already with someone. And they either leave that person or they don't leave that person, but they're never free. They're never single and unattached. And unattachment is going to be a big focus of this video. Attachment, because so many of us have so many diverse attachments when it comes to relationships and how we process those attachments. And it's very deep. And just looking at this is so very deep. But let me get back to it. Again, looking at this from a space of reflecting and looking for patterns and observing what my frequency has been drawing to me, has been manifesting to me, and trying to figure out why. What's in my conscious awareness, in my genetic makeup, in my past lives, in my energy frequency right now, in my existence, needs this lesson of attachments, and how not only I attach myself to others, but how others attach themselves to my frequency. And it's very interesting, because I don't think that I give off the I'm okay with being a side woman, or I'm okay with being in a relationship with multiple multiple partners, so to speak. And I haven't even explored that within my own psyche to say yeah or no. But like I said, with this Saturn retrograde, I'm very observant of it coming up so deeply and in so many different ways and manners, and conversations and Facebook posts and just energies and frequencies all around me. And what this really means with the current events with the corona and our relationship to each other, our isolation, our stillness, and the things that we need to see, to correct and work out. So, like I said, this has been very deep for me, and that's why I'm doing this video. And let me get back to it. this particular person, I told them because of their attraction to me, I would I did it wouldn't go in. We both understood. We both had this conversation over the phone that it couldn't go anywhere, and that it would only hurt in the end. And me being me, I I called to let him know after I had processed all of this that I needed to cut him off, that I needed to just, you know, just cast him out, just not even be his friend anymore, and just block him and all of this. And like I said, going through my relationships and talking with my daughter pointed out to me, Mom, you always do this with all your friends. You immediately, when things don't work out for you, you cut them off. You cut them completely off. Why do you do that? Is male, female, whether it's a romantic relationship or friendship or even an association or acquaintance, you just cut him off, and I'm not having anything else to do with him. And I understood that that is survival mode. That has always been survival mode for me, because it was in my mind, in my egoic mind, in my self-identifying as Valerie mind, that I have to keep me safe. And that in order to keep me safe, I have to keep others away from me. So I have to have all of these walls up, and I have to have all these boundaries and borders and hoops and cages and tests and all of this different stuff in order for me to maintain or even to have any kind of relationship that I can feel comfortable relating with a person. And like I said, it's just come up in this past week or a couple of weeks in May that I've even been able to look at it this way. And it is I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful, because it's allowing me a deeper insight into my own programming, wiring, responses, expectations, hopes, dreams, based upon what? Based upon ego, or based upon my true existence as a sovereign being. And so that's why, like I said, it's very important that we share what we're going through, what we're learning with our relationships with ourselves and our relationships with others. And we are never, what I've learned is we are never going to silence the ego mind. No matter how much deep of a meditation you get into, the egoic mind is going to be there. And all of this is very new to us, the identifying not so much with the ego mind, knowing that that is a separate identity and that is not the truth of who we are. So it is very deep to be able to observe the egoic mind, the things that it is attached to, the things that it feels, the things that it says, the things that it wants you to think on, and in the way it wants you to think, and in the way that it needs to keep identifying, to keep you being that unchanged being who is, not aware, not conscious, not woke. And you have to constantly, you know, wrangle with yourself to say no. I can step back and I can see this. And I can see my actions and reactions, and that is who I used to be. But I am no longer that being. That being is part of who I used to be. But I'm existence and I'm vast. I'm not limited to who I used to be. I'm not limited to somebody else's thoughts of who they thought I used to be, whether I was that person or not. If it's still in their mind, oh, this is who you are, and this is how I relate to you because this is who you are. Everything about you is an act, is a trick, is a this, is a that, based upon their own egoic mind and their own ability to relate and observe in their relationships. And you have to know that some beings, it is not your job to convince them that you are not who they think you are. They are going to think you are whatever because that is what their ego insists upon. And you're wasting your time trying to convince their ego otherwise. Because if they were at a higher frequency, they would see you as spirit and they would know you and recognize you as themselves and not your egoic personality or your many egoic personalities if you're a highly sensitive person like me. When I say my name is Legion, that's because there are so many manifested thoughts, desires, attitudes, personalities, predispositions, memories, moods, modes of being that it's very fluid for me. And it's not fluid for others to track it or to see it if you do not know me. And a lot of times things can come off in a way that is, how can I say, if you're another very sensitive person and you're around me say you're around me a couple of hours, in that first hour you may read me, my thoughts, my feelings, my attitude, everything in one way, in one manner. And you may be quite accurate with that reading. And you may have read one of the most shallowest parts of me. But I am a fluid being. And in the next hour, there's something totally different there. There's a higher frequency there. That is the exact opposite of what you encountered the previous hour before. And this is not who chooses their thoughts and their feelings. These are involuntary, ways vibrations, frequencies of human beings. And like I said, I'm observing this within myself, and I'm observing those that I have been allowing certain types of interactions with, and their reactions. And I'm understanding that it's totally natural for them to judge me based upon their discernment of my frequency. And like I said, in one moment, you might see the bitch. You might see the gold digging, cussing, ghetto, blah, 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 blah. And she feels everything that she feels, and she thinks everything that she thinks, and her desires are her desires. And then in the next 15 minutes, that spirit has completely shifted within me. And I am on a higher plane. And what you observed in me then is totally different from where I am in this moment. And a lot of people don't understand that fluidity. And they get that one bitch person, or that one sexual, sensual siren, and or the innocent giggling, or the funny fool, or the wise crone, and they set their minds on, you are this. You are just this. Everything else is blah, 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 but you are this. And that is what they have attached to. That is the frequency of you that they have attached to. And you're not responsible so much for another's choice of attaching to your persona, your look. That's like people saying a girl is raped because of what she's wearing or what she's not wearing. People have attachments to different things, whether it's visible or invisible, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And we are learning. That is what this Saturn retrograde is all about. It is to look reflectively upon your relationships of the past, your reflections of where you are now, and your reflections of where you want to be as a sovereign being going forward. What are you attached to about yourself? What are you attached to in others that you're constantly struggling with to say, that's not who I am, or that's a part of me, but that's not all of me. And why are you just holding on to that part? And you see the rest, but you're hung up on this part. Why? And so it's, like I said, it's very excuse me. It's very interesting looking at this from this perspective, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful because I no longer take it so personal. I no longer need to lash out. I no longer need to grab my sword and duel with somebody. And everything that I'm being shown now, I look at it as what is the lesson in it for me? Because this person is my teacher. This being that has manifested within me or within my energy radius or observation field? What is it they are bringing to the table for me? Because they've got a gift for me. Am I ready to receive it? Am I ready and open enough within myself to receive what Spirit is gifting me, what grace is gifting me through this being, through this mirrored reflection, through this blind spot that maybe I'm not seeing, and here it is being presented to me. Am I aware enough to understand what I'm being shown without being triggered, without my ego taking over the lesson and me losing it because I've let my ego, sit in that sovereign seat and rule my kingdom and say, no, this is this, and that is that, and this is what they meant, and that is what they meant, and this and this and this. Or I allow my highest self to sit in that seat of sovereignty and say, I am a student of the universe. What is being presented to me? And when I get done with this video, I'm going to reconnect with that individual that I pushed away, and I'm going to have a very in-depth conversation with them and explain to them this pattern that I see within myself, that I saw it and it was right there in my face, but it took my daughter to say, Mama, this is what you've been doing since I was a little girl. And I've been watching you do this. And you only see it from your perspective, that this person did this or they did that, or they triggered something in you where you had to defend yourself. And growing up Jehovah's Witness, one of the ways that we learned was to cut something up, cut it off, cut it off, cut it off. You don't talk with it. You excommunication, disfellowshipped, public reproof. You say what you need to say, and then you cut it off. And a lot of times I never go back. And now, in gaining this wisdom, this deeper wisdom, and understanding and reflecting more on my patterns, I'm understanding that when I do that, I am not allowing forgiveness to happen. And that forgiveness is not for the other person, for the situation, or whatever happened. That forgiveness is of the egoic humanities dominating that situation. My egoic humanity, thoughts and feelings driving me beyond a higher frequency. And in denying these interactions, I'm cutting off lessons of healing. Some things, some situations you do need to just clean break, but others deserve the chance to grow because we all make mistakes. And I guess that's where this is coming from. And I guess that's what this particular Saturn retrograde is showing me. And I hope this is coming out in a way. I should have probably written it down, and it would have been a lot clearer than me rambling all over the place. But attachments, when we make up in our mind, when we read a person, or we say, yeah, I got your number, I see you. We see that person in one light. We see that person in one aspect. We see that person in one setting. And based upon our own ego, we think we know that person and being. We know that I got your number, I got your frequency. And we limit that person to that behavior. We limit that person to that particular way. And when we do that, we're limiting our own ability to observe and be non-judgmental, and to be able to see clearly the entire picture, and not just the microcosm, but the macrocosmic view. And we've got to learn to look at individuals in that manner, because they are part of our collective. And just as we don't want somebody to see just one side of us and think, oh my God, that's who you are. Or one mistake that you made, oh my God, that's who you are. And think you're not capable of changing, or you're not capable of different behavior. That's very limiting. And it limits your ability to see and to view the things that you see. It limits your ability to grow in your own observation of not only yourself, but of the entire world, of the entire universe. Because you have to narrow everything down to an egoic perspective, yours or another's conditioning. And like I said, this being able to observe this from this perspective, I knew I had to share, because if you untangle all this babbling, there's a lot there at the heart of this message, of this download, of this transmission, of this sharing, whatever you want to call it. We need to understand that our ego is always going to perceive or have a certain set, limited sight or attachment to the way it sees or perceives or conceives certain things. And as the observer, you have to step back. And you said, there's a wider range to this frequency, to this energy. Let me observe it from that perspective and see exactly how wide, how deep, how shallow, how significant, how insignificant it is. Let me see it from the eyes of existence instead of the eyes of ego. And your ego only sees from what it has experienced or what it has been conditioned to see, to pay attention to. Just like me seeing those situations with those friends and saying, nope, cutting them off, nope, cutting them off. That's that ego only seeing it in one way and being right and righteous in itself, because its way of seeing is from a narcissistic point of view. It's from a point of view that has to have made a judgment based upon your ego and fitting things in to your ego perspective and your ego's agenda and your ego's self-regulation of you to keep you out of your true identity, out of the vastness that you truly are. Sight beyond sight is not limited. We only limit the way we process things based upon what our mind has survived and what its little data bank, and we don't go beyond that. And we haven't learned to use the empathy and compassion card that allows us to open that up broader, wider, deeper, and look from it from other perspectives that maybe we were blind from seeing, from noticing, from even admitting exists, simply because our ego is our dominant master. It dominates our thoughts and our feelings. And it tells you, you are this flesh, and this flesh needs to see this and experience this way. And we have to instantly say, no, I've existed before this flesh. And I've observed things from an unlimited perspective. And this is not a true lesson that's being presented. This is very one-sided right now. And you have to look at that. And that's what this Saturn retrograde in 2020 in May until I think it's December is all about, beloveds. And we're going to be dealing with this COVID situation deep into the fall. And a lot is about reflection. A lot is about our relationships. Our sovereign relationships with ourselves, with others, with our world. Many people are having identity crises. You can't tell me what to do. It's a hoax. I don't want to wear a mask. There are so many ego attachments being manifested, being released as frequencies. And many people are not adept in discerning that this is the ego, and that you have to rein that ego in and let existence deal with this, because our reality is never going to be the same again. And that is a good thing. That is a blessing. But we have to get through this portion. It's like a birth of a child. 9 months you're confined. And then you go through this birthing period, whether it's how many hours or days, or whether that baby just pops out or is breech or has to be cesarean or has to be turned around or whatever. There's a process that needs to take place. And that process is messy. And we have to be able to know that we can survive the messy. We are resilient enough to handle the messy. Even if that child doesn't make it, even if that child has a handicap, even if the mother dies and the child survives, we have to know that existence is fluid enough and resilient enough to handle that there is no unknown. So there is nothing to fear. And that brings me to the point of fear being unattractive. And that has its own connotations and its own attachments to those words. Fear, unattractive. Think about those two words. Fear and unattractive. Would you say that those words were uplifting and positive? Or were they divisive, negative? Or what could you build with those two words? What could you communicate from those two words? And then add attachment to them. What has your ego attached to each of those words? To their meanings, to their reality, to their frequency, to the manner of them. What has your ego attached to the word fear? Because it is very personal. It is from your own experiences. What has your ego attached to the word unattractive? Because that is from your own personal experiences. What is it unattractive to you? What does it mean to be unattractive to yourself, to another? What does it mean to be fearful within yourself or in the face of another, or to be viewed as fearful by another? This is what I mean when I said that Saturn retrograde 2020 is so very deep right now, and so many people are feeling this on so many levels, and that's because we're peeling away layers and layers and layers and layers of skin, of clothing, of soul protective armor, whatever you want to call it. The dermis is what is underneath. The epidermis is the many, many layers that are on top of the dermis. And we are becoming naked. We are shedding skins. This came to me in Women Who Run with Wolves, The Seal Soul Skin by, what's her name? Hold on just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I got cold. And I wanted to get my book. I'm going to read this a little bit. And this is from Women Who Run with Wolves, Myths and Stories of the Wild Archetype, Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And like I said, I've shared many times, this is a book that was really instrumental in my healing process, in my understanding different things that have taken place with me, to me, this lifetime before, with my mother, with relationships, um, and just as a way of reflecting and putting things into perspective from an archetypical perspective. So let me get to this. Chapter 9 is called Homing, Returning to Oneself, Seal Skin, Soul Skin. And I'm just going to go into it. 276. Okay. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it, beloveds, because it is so very beautiful and so very powerful. There is human time and there is wild time. When I was a child in the North Woods, before I learned there were 4 seasons to a year, I thought there were dozens. The time of night time, thunderstorms, heat, lightning time, bonfires in the woods time, blood on the snow times, the times of ice trees, bowing trees, crying trees, shimmering trees, bearded trees waving at the top only trees, and trees drop their babies' time. I love the seasons of diamond snow, steaming snow, squeaking snow, and even dirty snow, and stone snow, for these meant the time of flower blossoms on the river was coming. These seasons were like important and holy visitors, and each sent its harbingers. Pine cones open, cones close, the smell of leaf rot, the smell of rain coming, crackling hair, lank hair, bushy hair, doors loose, doors tight, doors that won't shut at all. Window panes covered with ice hair, window panes covered with wet petals, window panes covered with yellow pollen, window panes pecked with sap gum, and our own skin had its cycles too. Parched, sweaty, gritty, sunburned, soft. The psyches and souls of women also have their own cycles and seasons of doing and solitude, running and staying, being involved and being removed, questing and resting, creating and incubating, being of the world and returning to the soul place. When we are children and young girls, the instinctive nature notices all these phases and cycles. It hovers quite near us, and we are aware and active at various intervals as we see fit. Children are the wildest nature, and without being told to, they prepare for the coming of these times, greeting them, living with them, from keeping from those times mementos for remembering, the crimson leaf in the dictionary, the angel wing necklaces from the seeds of the silver maples, snowballs in the meat locker, the special stone, bone, stick, or pod, the particular shell, the ribbon from the bird burial, a diary of smells. From that time, the calm heart, the excited blood, and all the pictures in their minds. Once we lived by these cycles and seasons year after year, and they lived in us. They calmed us, danced us, shook us, reassured us, made us learn creaturely. They were part of our soul skins, a pelt that enveloped us and the wild and natural world, at least until we were told that they were really only 4 seasons to a year, and that women themselves really only had 3 seasons: girlhood, adulthood, and old womanhood, and that was supposed to be that. But we cannot allow ourselves to sleepwalk, wrapped in this flimsy and unobservant fabrication, for it causes women to deviate from their natural and soulful cycles, and therefore to suffer from dryness, tiredness, and homesickness. It is far better for us to return to our own unique and soulful cycles regularly, all of them, any of them. The following story can be understood as a commentary on the most important of women's cycles: the return to home, the wild home, the soul home. And I'm going to stop there, beloveds, and I again suggest this book. I hope you got a lot from that, because a lot of highly sensitive beings, this is how they experience existence. It is through cycles and seasons and memories and smells and touches and tastes and voices and laughter and crying and tears, and it comes in flashes, it comes in memories, it comes in sense, it comes in deja vu moments. It comes, and you have to be attuned enough with yourself to understand what's taking place. And like I said, a lot of times we deal with beings who don't perceive, don't observe, don't feel from that realm. And they put us in a particular category when we're going through a cycle or season. And they don't understand that that's just one aspect of my being. And you cannot judge me or categorize me by this moment. Yes, you may read my mind, and my mind can be saying, you know what, you's a bitch and I can't stand you. Or you may be in a relationship and you know what, I ain't giving you none. I ain't giving you none of this. You're going to have to work for it. And an hour or a couple of days or a week, hormones and everything else that you're sensitive to has shifted and changed. But that person still has an attitude with you because of where you were in your cycle and season of change. And that's who you are to them. And that's it. And I'm the same way. Like I said, I cut people off because I've come across people in their cycles and seasons and not understanding that that is not the totality of them. That could just be a season or a cycle that they're going through. And so this is, like I said, this Saturn retrograde is very positive. It's very profound when you really look at it and understand what is taking place and from what where your place in it is, and what are you observing from the standpoint of existence as well as from the standpoint of ego, and understanding that your ego is going to have many different thoughts than what your a conscious awareness from existence will have. And it's about expanding your conscious awareness into observing your ego more. And like I said, it's about knowing when to forgive. And forgiving sometimes can simply be letting go of your attachment to a concept, an outdated, outmoded concept. And that concept is not to say that it didn't happen, that you didn't experience it the way that you did, that it didn't happen the way that you felt. But it's to say, okay, that was a season, that was a cycle in time. And everything changes. Everything changes. And I must let go of holding something in one particular pattern, viewing it from one particular aspect, because that's what my ego wants me to do, to be safe and out of fear. If your ego can hold you in fear, you will always be small, because it doesn't want you um, it doesn't want you to experience the vastness that you are, because the ego itself is limited and can only repeat in cycles and certain things. But if you realize at your heart and at your soul what your spirit is and what your spirit is capable of, and that your spirit is your sovereign frequency of authority over your existence and over universal existence as an individual and as a collective, life takes on a whole new dimension. It takes on a whole new depth, takes on a whole new frequency. And you are removed from a place of fear and from a place of feeling unattractive by others or yourself, because you're operating from a higher frequency, from a frequency that has no beginning, it has no ending. Understanding that, excuse me for fidgeting, understanding that everything changes and that everything is in divine order. And the only thing that is out of alignment is your own thinking. And that is the only thing that you can control. And that is your kingdom. Your consciousness is your kingdom. And you need to learn how to be an authoritative, sovereign being founded upon unconditional love and compassion, for your kingdom to come and be in total alignment with the highest frequency. So when we pray for thy kingdom to come, thy will be done, that is exactly what we're asking for, that alignment, that harmony, that attunement, the regulating of that frequency, the integration of that frequency, the marriage of that frequency, so to speak. Yeah. Again, Beloveds, language is the most powerful tool that we have, because language gives birth to thoughts, and our thoughts give birth to desires, and our desires give birth to actions. We act upon our desires. We manifest our desires, and let me quit. Okay, sorry. We have to really have to get to a place where we can ground ourselves and focus and meditate upon the frequencies of our being and the way in which things are occurring and taking place, and not get so carried away in the ego manifestations, but to see them for what they are, and understanding that they just appear temporarily, in whatever form they appear, in whatever frequency they appear, in order to be contrast, so that you are able to determine at all times what season, what cycle, what frequency you are in. Are you aligned? Do you need to expand? Do you need to contract? What do you need to do in your existence to be at optimal service? I had pulled a couple of cards. The healer card from the, what deck is that? I can't think of the deck right now, but it's the healer card. You have the spiritual gift of healing and a desire to share it with others. And I looked at this card and I saw the mask and I saw the wings. And in looking at this card, what it's saying to me is that each of us has a healer within. And when we wear this COVID mask and understand the sign and symbols of what it means, when we tie it on and what we're going into, when you put that mask on, you know that you're going into battle with germs, and you're getting ready to go into a warfare or environment with unseen things that can harm you or can be harmful to you. And you are protecting your breath, your life force. Your breath is your life force. So you're protecting your life force from invisible things. So we have to take into account the manifestations that are taking place and what they mean on many different levels, on many different multiverses, from an archetype, from a sign, from a symbol, from a historic point of view, from an etymology of the word itself point of view. How has the mask played out in healing in the different centuries of the world? And different things come to my mind. I see the man in the iron mask. I see Zorro. I see Kimasabi, the Lone Ranger. And you think of these beings wearing masks and what the invisible forces or frequencies that they are confronting, and why their identities needed this alter identity with this mask on. What the mask gives them the ability to do versus not having the mask on. A lot is about healing right now in this moment. And we are healing multiple generations. We are healing multiple dimensions. We are healing multiple frequencies of trauma, post-traumatic distortion. Healing is taking place on a great level. Be aware of the frequency of healing. And again, you have the color green in here, and so it's speaking of this healing is coming from the heart. It has to be heart-centered in order to be effective. And this is divine healing. You see the wings. And the wings are not white, they're gray. So these wings have absorbed much throughout the ages. And it is the contrast that allows them to be precise and surgically remove what is necessary to be removed. And beloveds, as we see all of us coming together to help one another, that is the collective spiritual gift of healing. We're just rediscovering that within each of us. And in the rediscovery of that, it is establishing a cycle and a season of healing. And that season is one of expansion. Okay, that is that card. The next card is the Flower of Life, Divine Creativity and Manifestation. And it is from the Isis Oracle flower. Let me just get to it. Flower of Life. Divine creativity and manifestation. You are entering a fertile period of your life. Focus on your innate creativity and how potent this is becoming, and watch it rapidly grow. You are guided to think of yourself as a creative being and to surrender your control over how things will manifest, and instead allow them to do so. Don't resist change. Instead, flow and let it happen. Now is the time for your blossoming. Your soul is hungering for creativity and manifestation of the beauty in your inner world, to witness it and live it in your physical world too. Much of your spiritual energy is directed into creative process, and your creative powers are growing fast now. As you are gaining more potency in your creative flow, it is important that you use this growing ability wisely. Become aware of how easy and quick your thoughts and feelings are manifesting into conversations, situations, and responses from the universe. Notice how quickly your prayers are confirmed through signs and dreams, intuitions and opportunities opening up for you. You are becoming more and more swiftly that which you choose to think, feel, speak, and believe. This oracle suggests that the time is ripe for you to choose to align yourself with love each morning, so that your thoughts will serve you well, and the manifestations you set in motion will be ones that enhance your life experience, rather than more of what you do not want to experience. It can require time, habit, and consistency to change patterns of thought and behavior, but it can be done. You are guided now to allow yourself absolute and radical permission to detach from past thoughts and behaviors, to bear the challenge of not knowing who you are or how you will be on the other side of the transformation in order to let it happen. That is very powerful. Being the caterpillar does not know what color wings it will have. It does not know what is happening in that chrysalis stage when it is liquefying. It doesn't know. But it allows. It allows. And if you really understand that pupil state, that pupil, that eye pupil, that the student is the pupil, and what that caterpillar goes through, it eats ferociously everything it's going to need in order to transform and transmutate its previous form. Okay. The flower of life holds the secrets to allowing creative change and transformation of circumstances, manifestation and healing in the easiest and most enjoyable ways possible. The flower of life contains repetitive patterns, each interlacing and interrelating to the other like the holograph that contains the whole within each part. And beloveds, we spoke about that as the Saturn retroactive reflection that's going on, and our attachment to the reflections, to the changes, to the boxes that we've put these changes in, and understanding that things change from cycle to season, and that we have to forget and forgive that which we thought had not changed because it triggered us or affected us. We cannot hold everything to a certain standard and think, oh, only I'm changing, but that person didn't change. Everything changes, whether you understand that frequency or not. Everything changes. Some things change in degrees that you cannot see and that you cannot measure in that particular moment. But you keep observing and you'll see. That is the wisdom of existence and nature. Like the holograph that contains the whole within each part. In this way, all that is required is to tap into one part, one element, one thought, or one behavior that relates to your desired creative outcome and integrate it into your life. All the rest will follow through natural connection. The ritual below will help you create in a powerful and focused way, using the holographic power of the flower of life. So choose wisely what you would like to experience. Make sure in your heart you are willing to allow it to come to life, because once you do the ritual, your life will change and move to accommodate your intention. And this is what we're finding happening with this coronavirus. Many of us meditated and asked for change. This is the change. It is a powerful skill within you that is growing, and what you put out will return to you multiplied. So make sure that is what you truly want. The oracle of the flower of life also brings guidance that you are in the midst of a changing pattern. And although it might be uncomfortable at first, it holds the seed of what you desire. And to allow it to happen is wise and loving to the self. Be brave, beloved initiate. The flower of life is nurturing you into a more whole expression of your divine self. Yes, there will be moments of questioning or doubt, but they are such a small part of the beauty unfolding for you now, And beloveds, again, that questioning and doubt, that's coming from your ego. That's not coming from your conscious awareness as yourself as existence, but it's identified as, when I have these doubts, this is my ego. And this is my ego providing me the contrast that's necessary. Let me look at this different. Let me hold it up and look at it from different angles and see what it's trying to speak to me, what lesson it holds for me. And let me not take it personal. The flower of life is nurturing you into a more whole expression of your divine self. Yes, there will be moments of questioning or doubt, but they are such a small part of the beauty unfolding for you now. Enjoy the flowering of your soul light into form on this planet. It all is diverse beauty. One second here. Okay. I turned the light out because it's getting brighter. Enjoy the flowering of your soul light into form on this planet. It all in all its diverse beauty. And I'm going to show you the flower of life symbol there. Ritual of flower of life. Go into your heart space and relax your breathing from your belly to your chest, feeling the rise and fall of the body along with the breath. Allow yourself to cultivate the feeling, image, sense of perception, or of something you would really like to create, become, or be right now. Come from a place of joy and love, something that really makes your heart sing. Don't worry if it seems too much or impossible. Don't judge, don't think, analyze, or judge. Just feel with your heart and trust. Sit with your vision or feeling and then gaze at the pattern of the flower of life below. Holding the vision, feeling, or image in your heart as you gaze at the pattern, absorbing the image mentally. Take your time. Enjoy the fact that you are seeding your vision or feeling. Relax into it as much as possible. Keep your gaze soft and let it hover over the pattern, noticing small individual flowers, then how they link together and continue. When you are ready with your heart still connected to your vision and aware of the flower of life pattern, just say, of my own free will, with divine harmony and grace, so be it. You can finish the ritual with the incantation below. And beloveds, while I was reading that, my inner eye focused on this particular pattern. And what I saw was a wheel, kind of like those old wagon wheels back in the days in the West, one of those wagon wheels with the spoke, really elaborate, and it almost looked like a compass as well. That's what was there. So wheels are motion and movement, and even that compass was about directing your guidance. So, and wheels, you turn which way. It's very deep. Also, the wheels are on the Merkaba, and so this, like I said, this was very deep for me, just having that ping right there. You can say this incantation before any visualization or affirmation, or as a closing to the ritual above to boost your creative manifestation, causing it to come into concrete form in the physical world more rapidly. Flower of life, circles repeating, manifestation now increasing, creativity flowing fast, with power of the universe vast, the whole within a grain of sand, manifestation forms from this hand, with unconditional love so wise, uniting power of earth and skies. Flower of life, circles increasing. The energy grows through this speaking. And that is it, beloveds. And we're going to end this video. And I know it's covered a lot. And Saturn retrograde, like I said, relationship attachments observed by Ocean 9. And I was beginning this at 11:08 a.m. my time, which is Central Standard Time. So just as a diary purpose, I'll include that little bit. Namaste, beloveds. Stay as safe as you can. Look into the mass. Ask internally what it symbolizes and what it means to you. What attachments your ego have to the word mass, the symbol mass, the sign mass, the history of the mass, the image of the mask. Let it speak to you. Understand, deepen and widen your perspective on things. And why is it right now such a big deal in this cycle and season of humanity's evolution and frequency? What is the message of the mask? I love us. Peace and blessings. Be better than you were yesterday. And love unconditionally, beloved. And if you're like me, your sleep has been, that sleep schedule is something else. But it is what it is. And like we just received the information, just allow things to be. Don't try to observe them rather than trying to control them. Put yourself in a place of observation rather than in the seat of judgment. Okay.